Welcome, everybody. I am so excited today to have Buzzy Kerbox come into the studio. Buzzy, welcome.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks
Wow.
for having me.
Oh, yeah. I'm driving over here. I was just thinking of all the stories and the things you've done over the years. And here we go, the new book. It's all right here.
Yep.
Wow.
Took 3 years in the making, but I kept a scrapbook and journal when I was touring and modeling, and I always thought one day I should write a book, and so I did.
Wow, that's a lot of work. What was the hardest part about putting the book together? Like, most challenging for you?
I have so many pictures that I had to go through to boil it down and then make a cohesive story out of it, and what to tell, figuring out what to keep in and what to edit out. And then my editor was meticulous with me on spelling, dates, everything. She'd go, "You got that wrong. That wasn't '84. It was June of '83." I mean, everything she just scrutinized over. But we wanted everything to be accurate. You don't want to have misinformation. So it went through everything. I gave my definitions of surfing terms, and I'm really happy with the way it came out.
Well, I'm excited to jump right into it. And it starts with the early years. So that was my first question. Like, where did you grow up? How did you end up in Hawaii? Like, where did it all start?
It started for me in Indianapolis.
Wow.
We lived near the Indy 500 track. I could hear them practicing on race day. But my dad came home from work one day and said, "We're moving to Hawaii." And I was like, yes.
Wow.
Excited. My two older brothers were a little more reluctant. "Oh, we're going to miss our friends. We don't want to go." But I was super excited.
How old were you?
I was not 9 when we decided we were going to go. But during the summers, we'd drive down to Florida, and I saw a Beach Boys album cover with surfing on it. So I imprinted this thing that had this idea that I wanted to surf. And so when he came home and said that, I was like, yeah, I was super excited.
You already knew that was your path.
So my mom was going to fly out to Hawaii and go look for a house. And I said, "Mom, I'll go with you." So I went with her. We found a house in Kailua, and we stayed at a hotel in Waikiki. And I walked over and took a surf lesson, and the hook was set, and that was it.
Wow.
I said, call everybody else, tell them, "Come on out, we're good." And she's all, "We got to go back and finish school." So, okay. So we went back, finished school, and then we actually jumped in the Country Squire station wagon with the fake wood paneling and all that. We drove from Indiana through Hoover Dam, Las Vegas to San Francisco, and jumped on the Lurling and sailed into Honolulu Harbor on Kamehameha Day, 1967.
Wait a minute. You sailed. You sailed to Hawaii.
The Lurling. Well, it's a cruise ship.
Yeah. From San Francisco.
San Francisco. Yeah.
Wow, what a way to go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
You didn't fly. And what year was that?
67.
67. And what was it like in 67 over there in Hawaii? I mean, it's a lot different, huh?
Bitchin'. It was really nice, yeah. And Kailua is on the windward side of Oahu, so it was a little more urban. wasn't like Honolulu City. It was, you get the trade wind, so it was a little rainier than the other side, so it wasn't as desirable, but it was totally desirable for me.
And was it hard when you first got there, showing up on the scene, being a new kid in town, and you hear these stories of kids getting beat up and having to fit in and deal with being an outsider?
I had some tussles in school, but I learned early on that my strategy was make friends with the biggest guys, and so I did that through. And in high school, I was friends with Roy Franco, who was a tackle on the football team, and I'd walk around me and Roy. And then after that, nobody messed with me at school.
Oh, smart.
Had some tussles, in the water, but I just try to respect the locals and not be overly aggro and get along. And I'm not a fighter, and I've virtually had my entire surfing career without ever fighting.
Yeah, respect, right?
Yeah.
That's key. And who were some of your first surf buddies that you met when you went over there?
Well, I was surfing Kailua shore break, and then there were some contests, and somebody said, "Oh, you should enter some of these little amateur contests." And there was this kid from Waimanalo, Michael Ho, that was winning all the events. So I at first I didn't make it to the finals, but then I kept trying. And I started making it to the finals, but usually ended up behind Michael Ho. So he was a rival from me early on. And in the last Masters event, I ended up against Michael again. So we've had, 50 years of competing against each other.
Well, and I saw that you're doing the Masters events, and I think that's great. And how does it feel to put on a jersey and compete even at your age now?
I love it. I wish there was more Masters events. They kind of fell off the map, but I was really enjoying them. We had, for a while there, we had them in France and Fiji and Puerto Escondido, all over the place. Yeah. It was really fun. I thought it was a great concept.
What's your thought of the WSL? I know they were involved with the Masters, and what do you think about surfing where it's at now? Competitive surfing lifestyle. Did you ever think it would be where it's at, or?
Well, the surfing tour right now is, pretty much the dream tour. These guys get to go to the best places in the world and wait for the best conditions and surf with priority man-on-man heats, where back in my day it was, whatever the conditions were during those 4-day period, that's when we're going to hold it. Some of the heats were 6-man heats, wow. 20 minutes, 4 rides. It was a lot harder.
4 rides in 20 minutes.
Yeah, so consistency was really important. It wasn't about just, one good ride. You had to get a consistent number of waves and get through a heat. You had to have completed solid rides, and they liked a ride from beginning to end and everything in between, but you had to start and finish it, not just, get a closeout and do one maneuver. It was all about a completed ride.
Wow.
You had to get those quickly.
You had to be in good shape.
Yeah.
That was were guys training for those things? Were they,
Yeah, some train in the early days, but not that much. Mostly just surfing.
Yeah. So you competed in surfing. Let's talk a little bit more about the process. So you started surfing. You started competing. What was next? I mean, you became a pro surfer, right?
Well, what came next was the Smirnoff Amateur in 1974 came to the North Shore. And
that's in the book, right?
Yeah.
Do you know where that is exactly? Or close to it?
I'd have to look through here. But so the Smirnoff Amateur came. And I competed at Sunset, made it through to the semifinals, and then they said we're going to hold the semis and finals tomorrow. And when we woke up the next day, it was 25-foot Waimea. So we're standing there in the parking lot, and I was with all the best surfers in the world, and I had just, this upstart little amateur just squeezed in, and a closeout set came and washed all the way into the parking lot. And I remember Barry Pooney and some of the other guys were going, oh, good, yeah, we can call this off. Nobody wanted to go out. It was just massive. And Fred Hemmings, the contest director, looked out there and said, what do I have to do? Paddle out there and show you guys? It's on. So I was in the first heat. And
how old were you?
I was probably 17.
Oh, wow. Were your parents there?
Yeah.
Everyone was nervous.
Yeah. It was scary, but it was the first time I was ever happy to get last in my heat. And I didn't have to go back out.
Oh, yeah. Wow. And do you remember who won that?
Reno Abellero. Reno won it, and Jeff Hackman was second, and it was just massive. Here's a shot of me where Hackman's dropping in behind the bowl, and barely in the corner of the frame you can see me just peering over, just going, oh my God, horrified looking at that.
That's huge. Can we show the camera? Is it going to pick up, or do you guys want to look at it later?
We'll do that.
Yeah, we'll look at it later. Okay.
But this is a shot I like a lot. It was the early Hawaiian crew with Barry Pooney, Jackie Dunn, Dane, Bertelman, Rory, Clyde Aikau, Bradshaw, and myself. That was the only guy missing in that shot was Michael Ho.
Well, oh yeah.
He was sometimes, hard to find for a photo. He was pretty always a little in the shadows.
Yeah, he's still charging, right? I mean,
Michael's still charging. Just Pipe and Sunset, Waimea. He's going strong.
I was out there this winter taking photos and got to see him at a back door just charging and no fear, just sending it.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So you guys were pretty tight there, huh? Was there a pecking order? Was there any kind of shenanigans? Everyone get along okay?
Yeah, no, we all got along. These Barry and I surfed against Eddie and Clyde and all these. Yeah, competed against all these guys, and we were. It was all All pretty groovy. No problem amongst any of us.
And that
And
was
that-
that in the
this is-
70s?
Yeah, this is '70s. This is just about the time we're the crew that were holding the door down when the Aussies were trying to bust it open.
Oh
So
yeah.
we're the ones holding it.
Yeah, that was heavy times. So you guys kind of had to like hold it down. Like this is our town.
Well, I
That means-
remember seeing Sean and Rabbit showing up at Pipe and surfing with them, and they were charging hard, and I got along with those guys too, and it was a good time when we were all pushing each other. I saw what they were doing, and made me want to step up too, and I think they saw what all of us were doing, and they had to step up their game. So
I'm getting this feeling you got along with everyone. I like that. You just
I
got stoked, happy, appreciative.
Yep.
So now, how far did you take your professional surfing?
So after the Smirnoff and making it to the final, I was considered a pro because I competed in a professional event.
Okay.
I couldn't be an amateur, so for a couple of years I couldn't compete anymore. And then in 1976, Randy Rarick was putting together a tour to go to South Africa and Brazil, where there was trials for the events in the Gunston 500 that Sean Thompson had won like 5 times in a row.
Wow.
So
yeah.
I saved up my money and went on that trip and made it through the trials. I think I made it to the finals of the Gunston and went to Brazil. Had a really good run. At the end of the year, they looked at all the contests and then the Hawaii events and said, let's make this into a world tour.
Wow.
They added up the points. PT was the world champion, and I was number 10 in the world.
Wow.
So.
Oh, and that was what year? 76.
1976.
Number 10 in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
This is great.
Uh-huh.
But 77, the new world tours come in, and I got no sponsors.
Mm.
So, I was still in school, and I was I sent out letters to all these different companies I'm a pro surfer, and I'm going to go on the world tour, and I couldn't get any help.
Was Quicksilver big at that point too? Had they?
No, they were small. Hackman had won in Bell's a few years prior to that, and hadn't started Quicksilver USA yet.
Okay.
So they were still small. But there was an upstart surf shop in Kailua called Locomotion.
Yep.
I was the first team rider. I got 1 board, 2 shirts, and a bar wax. And
wow.
Sorry I can't help you with your airfare, but I'd love to see you go on the world tour.
Oh, so what did you do? What?
I worked super hard. My dad's company had a truck, so I took his truck and I made these "We Haul Anything" signs. The "we" was me and my truck, and I would move furniture, trash, whatever, and tried to make money in the quickly, and so I could buy a ticket and get back on tour. And then along the tour, I was like selling stuff, anything I didn't need. I'd sell a wetsuit here or there, and get enough prize money just to keep paying the hotel bills and keep going.
Were there some surfers at that point that had decent sponsors that were making money?
It was just starting to happen. Sean, I think, had family money, so he had a credit card and his own, hotel rooms and rental cars all the time. And we were like, 4 in a car, let's split the room, full low budget, but we made it work.
Wow, that's great. And how many years did that happen for?
So I stayed on the tour till '83.
Oh,
but
it's a long time.
So '77. It was good, and then '78 I had another lap around the world and came back to the Hawaii leg, and my dad had been telling me, you're doing good, but you got to win. I just wasn't. It was like I was just another guy. Bertelman was the star. Michael, these other guys were the star surfers, and my dad was just saying, you've got to win one. So I just set my goal, and I started working out and getting better at paddling and working on everything I could, because I knew that these guys are all better than me, but I wanted to win.
Yeah.
And so I just worked on a mental game and just, I'm going to win. I thought it every day, every moment, worked at it, and the World Cup came, and I worked my way through the finals, through Simon Anderson, Sean Thompson, Michael Ho, and ended up with Ian Cairns, the defending
You have a picture in
champion.
there, right?
Yeah.
And that's
the
at
defending
Sunset Beach.
Sunset Beach,
Uh-huh.
and took on Ian in the final and won the World Cup.
Wow.
The world's richest contest at the time, $8,000. I thought I could buy anything in the world. Thought I'm rich.
Wow, wow. What an accomplishment,
Yeah.
though, to set your mind to it, work hard,
Yeah.
and to win at sunset too.
Yeah.
That wave is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. And I got to tell our fans, I was at sunset this winter and I saw Buzzy out there still charging. I was just scratching and he's just like stroking, no problem, still doing it. So that's really impressive. You must have a special relationship with sunset.
Yeah, I love sunset. I got to know sunset by surfing at Velzyland, because coming up from the east side, Velzyland was the first spot we came to, and I got really good at Velzyland, and then realized that sunset's just a big version with the outside North Peaks, the inside West Bowl, and it was very similar. So trying to understand sunset was it was pretty easy for me, but it's probably the trickiest spot there is in the world, with all the different swell directions and tide changes and in here and out there and the point and the bowl. Yeah, it's super tricky. But
Now, surfing in Hawaii your whole life and on all these big waves, especially, big wave surfing too, have you ever had any, close calls with big waves and being held down or been injured at all?
Of course.
Yeah. I mean,
I remember at sunset at one time during a contest. I forget which contest, but I think Sean and I were deep, and a giant set came, like 15-foot set, and we paddled towards the point and got over one that way, and then the next one was over there, and I was just getting held down, just crawling up my leash, getting one more breath, and then another one, and that was happening in the heat. So that was tough. So there's a lot of hold downs, and you're just praying that you get up and get a breath of air in time.
You got to stay calm, huh?
Stay calm. That's a thing.
And when you say 15 feet, that's 30-foot face.
Yeah.
Right. So people need to understand that 15-foot Hawaiian is 30 feet tall, and when you see something like that coming, I don't know how you stay calm.
It's you just have to, because you just have to do it. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your training. So you worked really hard. You won sunset. Have you been? You're in great shape. Have you always trained? What's your secret to staying fit and training and being able to do this?
I've never been a gym guy. I mean, I have done some lightweight training, but mostly I do home workouts and push-ups and pull-ups. We used to run the beach I'd run Kailua Beach, and then I would just work out and paddle, and started doing paddleboard races to get better at paddling, and just staying active. Just keep getting out there.
Stay active.
Paddle to be paddler.
Keep moving. So so I want to talk about your racing with paddling too. But so did your surfing career did it end abruptly, or how did you transition from being a pro surfer into the next phase of your life?
Okay, that's kind of two parts. I can cover that. Yeah. So I stayed on tour, and 79, so I won the World Cup 78, 79. I didn't have a very good year competitively, and I was ready to throw in the towel. A lot of the contests were in junkie waves, New Jersey. We surfed in Japan when the waves were this big.
Coming from Hawaii, that must have been...
bigger waves were my forte, and most of the events were pretty junky surf. And so at the end of 79, I was just ready to give it up. Mark Richards was the world champion riding a twin fin, and most of us were on single fins, and if he got it waves, did his turns, nobody could match it. Mm-hmm. So Hans Tiedemann came over, and a few months before he was going to go to Australia, and said, I'm going to Australia. You come in? I go, nah, I'm not going. He goes, come on, you're 16 in the world. The top 16 are seeded. You got to come. So I went and I got a twin fin and started riding it, and jumped on a plane with Hans, went down to Australia, did pretty good at Bells. I got third in the Stubbies, and then I won the Surfabout, world's richest contest.
Wow, you're winning all the world's richest ones.
I would focus on those. I always wanted to win particular one, so I put center my focus on that. It was definitely a targeted win, and everybody wanted that one, but I guess I wanted it more, and I just squeezed through. Every heat was super, super tight.
And what beach was that? That was at
Narrabeen.
Narrabeen, yeah. They just had a contest at Narrabeen.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
You learned how to ride a twin fin.
Yeah, I learned how to ride a twin fin. Critter was in the other bracket. I had a really hard bracket, but MR was coming up in the other bracket on the other side. And in the semifinal, Critter Burn took out MR, just hassled him super hard, didn't let him get a wave. And so I had Critter in the final. And it was a 2 out of 3, and I took him down two in a row, and won that. And I was super excited. But after that, those were climactic moments, and then being on tour, it just was, I kind of was losing interest a little bit. And while I was in Australia on tour in 1978, I'd been hit in the stomach by my board and ended up in the hospital. And the doctors wanted to do exploratory surgery. They thought my intestines were cut and it could be bleeding inside, so they wanted to do emergency surgery. And I said, okay, well, when can I be back in the water? And they said, don't worry, 3 or 4 months, we'll have you back in the water, mate. And I went, no, I got bells on Saturday. No surgery. I went, no, my surfing was the most important thing in my life, and I had to get to bells.
Yeah. And
I went, no surgery. And so while I was in there, I wheeled over to the nurse's station to borrow the phone, called my dad collect, and told him I was in the hospital, but I was all right. And he said, well, this New York photographer, Bruce Weber, called and wants you to call him collect. And I said, okay, whoever that is. Yeah. So I hung up the phone and asked the nurse if I could make one more call. And I called another collect call. And so from Australia to New York, it's not even the same day, but Bruce happened to be home, answered it, accepted the charges, and said he was a fashion photographer doing the shoot for Vogue and had seen me in a surfer magazine and wanted to fly me there for a shoot. And I said, okay, what's the date? And he told me the day, and I went, I can't make that. I've got the surf about. Sorry, but thanks for thinking about me. And then I went to Bell's. I bombed out. I went to the surf about, lost in the first round. I looked around for a payphone, found a payphone, called Bruce again, collect in New York. He answered again. It's kind of a miracle.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, is it too late? He said, no, if you get on a plane right now, you can make it. So I flew home, changed my clothes, flew to New York.
Were there any more events on that series of?
No, that was the surf about was the last one. It was done. So I flew home, flew off, and did this shoot out in Long Island. And then Bruce, while I was in New York, Bruce took some of the shots that he had taken and sent me to the big agencies, Ford, Willoughby, and all that. And I showed him the pictures, and I said I was from Hawaii, and I'm 5'9", and I live in Hawaii. And the girl, all the female models are like 5'11" or 6 feet. So the guy models start at 6 feet.
Right.
It's too short, and I lived in Hawaii. They said, but if you move to New York, let us know. Maybe we can work something out. Okay, I guess that's not going to work. I went home and carried on with things. And then 6 months later, Bruce Weber was in a meeting with Ralph Lauren about a catalog shoot. And Bruce said, I worked with this guy that might be good for your brand. So they flew me to New York, dressed me up, and sent me into Ralph's office. And I sat there and had a 5-minute chat with Ralph. And I've been working for him for the last 40 years.
Yeah, what a legend! what a legend! What a legend he is, huh? I watched the documentary. Yeah. And just a incredible, smart human being, huh?
Genius, yeah.
Yeah, and you're still working, still doing it.
The last shoot I did was a year and a half ago with all my kids.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, that was really fun.
And do you have 3 kids?
3 boys.
3 boys.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's hear a little bit about the boys. I mean, that's a whole nother story. But or what is your your fondest memory with your boys? I'm sure there's a lot of different adventures.
Because I didn't have to work full time, I got to spend a lot of time with my kids and taking them surfing. And one liked horses, so take him to horse camp and whatever. Let them all. I just show them everything and let them choose what they like to do. And 2 of them, my oldest, my youngest, are really good surfers, and my middle one doesn't surf at all. So I don't know if he just didn't want to be like Dad, or he didn't. Yeah. I don't know. He didn't have the passion, but he's very athletic. He just didn't want to surf. So
that's great that you let everyone follow their own passion and dream, and
Yeah.
that you got to be close with them.
Yeah, so I got to spend a lot of time with all of them, and that's really important, I think.
So real quick, let's go back to the modeling. So how did you adjust? How could you give us some of those beginning stories of becoming a model, and was it ever overwhelming? Was it always easy? You traveled a lot with it. And did you give up was your surfing career over once you started modeling?
No, I was doing both. So I was flying a real lot. I had a lot of United miles going.
Yeah.
That's when that program first came out.
Yeah, perfect.
I was getting a lot of miles, so that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would fly from Australia to Japan to do a commercial and back, and a lot of the other guys had no idea how much modeling. They knew I did a little bit, but they didn't realize the extent of it, or that in New York I was on billboards and subways and taxis, and they didn't see it and they didn't know, and I didn't say anything. So
yeah, you're a low key guy. but you weren't sharing cars and sharing rooms anymore. You finally had some money to go.
I could get my own car. Yeah.
That's great. So how long did you do both for?
To 83 in South Africa. I just was over it, and I left the hotel with Michael Ho and Hans in the room, and I said, I'm going to Europe. I bought a one-way ticket to Europe, and spent 2 weeks. I didn't speak any language, didn't know anybody, and just got a Eurail pass and just cruised around Europe.
Wow! So that was it. You were done with surfing, went to Europe, and at that time, were you still doing? Was your modeling keeping you busy? Like, were you still doing a lot of that? Or?
Well, what happened in, I think it was 81, Polo, my agent called. I got an agency after I was working for Polo. An agency wanted to have me after that, and they called and said, Polo wants to book you for 5 days. And I looked at the dates and went, well, that's the dates of the World Cup. I can't make that. I'm kind of busy that week. And so my agent was like freaking out, Buzzy, this is Polo. You can't turn this down. What are you doing? This is, and it was good money, but I was like, surfing was my priority. I was a surfer first, and it came first. And so I said I couldn't do it. They ended up pushing the whole shoot back a week to accommodate my schedule.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I got to do the contest and then go do the shoot. And at the end of the shoot, Buffy Baratella was like Ralph's right-hand woman, and she said, Buzzy, what's it going to take so we can have you when we want you? Mm-hmm. If we give you a contract, would that do it? That would do it. Yeah, so I became the first male model contract for Polo.
Oh, wow.
They had a couple women under contract, but I was the first male.
Wow.
And so I had to work 14 days a year.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah. So I still had some free time.
Wow.
And that was perfect. So yeah, when I started making that money, I realized that going around and surfing, surfing around the world with all the best guys in the world, it might be better just to go where the best guys aren't.
Yes. And go surf and get waves and have fun.
Yeah.
Were you did you end up doing modeling for other companies as well, or did you just stick to Ralph Lauren?
Well, I never went to LA or New York full time or lived there. So, but when the Polo was in all the magazines and all that, other jobs just came to me, and I got a lot of direct bookings, so they'd fly me out for direct things. So I got kind of the best of both worlds.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I did a lot of beer, other things. I just couldn't do any clothing that competed with Polo.
Got it. Now, I was talking to Damien earlier, and he was saying, "Oh, you got to ask him about like New York and the parties and the whole model scene." So you're coming from surfing, right? And the surfing. Now you're in a whole new world, right? This is New York. This is clubs. How did you handle all that? What was that like?
It was eye-opening, shocker. I actually just told this story last night, but on my first trip in '78, after the Vogue shoot, we went back to the city, the whole Vogue crew, and they go, "We're going to take you to this club tonight." I went, "Oh, okay." And they go, "It's called Studio 54."
Oh yeah.
So we went there, and there's hundreds of people outside in the street. And I'm like, "Oh, we're not going to get in there." But one of the guys went through, and he talked to the bouncer. "Oh, this is a Vogue magazine shoot crew." Boom. And we just hung on like a train. They pulled us through the crowd. We got in for free and entered the world of that I'd never seen in my wildest dreams. And there was, I remember seeing Andy Warhol, who I'd never heard of, and just all kinds of craziness. There was one of the characters was Rollerina.
What was that?
Rollerina is a 6'4" stockbroker by day, puts on roller skates, a dress, and a little wand, and skates on the dance floor around in circles like all the time. You can Google that.
Wow,
Rollerina,
Rollerina.
Studio 54,
Yeah.
and that's, but yeah, it was just shocking. So one of the other models and I said, wow, there's all these girls on the dance floor. Let's just go dance out there and see, you know. So we dance out, and we find these two cute girls. We kind of try to dance up near them, and they just looked at us and gave each other a big kiss and said, "Beat it." I said,
They weren't having any.
I said, I think we'll keep going. We just kept moving through the crowd.
Wow. Now, is that a club that you went to a lot after that, or is that
I went
something-
there on a few subsequent trips after that, but it only lasted 3 or 4 years, and the club went under. But it was the epicenter of New York party life.
Wow, what an experience!
And I had like an Aloha shirt and jeans, and everybody else is like these costume, dress up, makeup, this. You're either dressed way up or down or something, or the guys had chaps, leather chaps with nothing under them, and just it was an eye-opening world I just didn't even know existed.
How fun! Oh my gosh! And they were probably looking at you thinking,
Who's this square guy?
Or like, look at this costume. We've never seen this costume, right?
Yeah, what's this costume?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And none of the girls were very talkative with me, and then this one suddenly became very friendly, and I went, oh, she likes me, and I'm talking to her, and I went back to my friend, and he's going, Buzzy, that's a guy. Oh, jeez. So that was another, it is? I'm like, oh, damn.
A whole new world out there, huh? I bet you were glad to get back to Hawaii after that.
Yeah, I was like, whew.
Crazy life. And so then, during your time with your modeling, you've also taken up long distance paddling, and paddled. I think it was at the English Channel.
That was later. That came a little after in the 90s. Later 80s, I did a lot of racing, and then on actually a GQ shoot with Sean Thompson and Laird Hamilton. I had known Laird when he was a little kid at Pipeline, but now he was grown up, and we were both heavily into windsurfing at that time, so we hit it off and hung out a lot, and then ended up spending a lot of time on Maui and bought a property over there and windsurfed over there a lot. And
So you met. So that's what I wanted to get into next. So you met Laird first, windsurfing with him.
Yep.
And you guys became partners in all kinds of things, especially huge surfing on the biggest waves and doing tow-in. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that started? You guys are kind of the pioneers of that.
I had a Zodiac boat in Kailua, and we'd freeboard. When it was flat, you just on this like water skiing on your surfboard and playing around, and Laird and Derek Toner and I were doing a lot of windsurfing at backyards and Phantoms, and we saw how good the waves were on the outside. And just one day we're like, well, maybe if we take the Zodiac out there and pull on these waves, we could be riding tapping into this resource out there. And so we gave it a try. At first, my engine was a little undergunned with a 40 horse. So the next season we came back with a 60 horse and started going at it on our big gun boards. And first it was like 10 to 15, and then we got this one really big day at outer Laniakea, the biggest waves I'd ever surfed, and it's like, wow, we're onto something. This is cool. Bradshaw and Fu and these other guys were down at Alligators that day, and we were riding this wave that nobody ever rides, and it was just unbelievable, and we're getting long rides and lots of them. And then Laird was on the phone with Mike Waltz, one of our friends on Maui, and said, well, you guys were doing that. We were windsurfing this wave over here. It might be good for your towing technique.
Oh.
So we actually drove the Zodiac in a wave runner 96 miles from Oahu to Maui, because we were kind of on a tight budget. We didn't have trailers or really,
that's
money for shipping. So
that
we just
96 miles.
drive them there, at least, yeah.
heavy. Oh my gosh.
So then we got our toys over there, and then we started towing it at Jaws, and the first days were like, wow, this place is pretty good.
Nobody out.
Nobody
around.
out. Nobody around. It's a little bit windy, bumpy, but this big wave. We're like, wow, I wonder how big this could hold, you know. And then as the years went, a couple of years went by, then we started towing with all the windsurfer guys that became the strap crew: Pete Cabrina, Dave Kalama, Mark Angulo, Rush Randall.
Yeah.
And we were, it was just our group, and we had it for a couple of years, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and the way we realized the wave can handle as big as Mother Nature can throw at it.
And then you started riding smaller boards.
Yeah, the board
right.
started working down.
And strapping.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
put the windsurfing foot straps on the boards, and they went smaller. The Laird and Derek went to Dick Brewer one day and said Laird wanted a board that would go faster than any board ever, and so Dick said, come back in an hour, and they went back in an hour, and he had made a 7.4, 16-inch wide full concave board. We put the foot straps on that and rode it, and Laird rode it, I rode it, and we went, wow, this is, oh my gosh, it carries the speed, and it's unbelievable. So that was kind of for another season, everybody got 7.4s, and then 7.2s, and we started making them a little bit smaller, and then adding weight, because most of the time it was really windy up there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started weighting them and going down. Now guys are riding like 5.10s on giant surf.
And Laird was he kind of the guy pushing everyone to go bigger, strong? Was he the ringleader of everybody? Or?
He was always the ringleader. Yeah, wanted bigger, wanted the biggest ones, and I never wanted the biggest ones. I was just having fun being able to have high performance surfing on big waves.
Right.
And there's all the talk of the 100-foot wave, you know, and I just I said, I want a 100-footer, and Laird would want the 100-footer, and I go, if a 100-footer comes, I don't want it. I don't want a 100-footer.
Yeah.
Please, just go the other way if that one comes.
Wow. And is Laird still pushing it hard out there? Is he still?
He's mostly foiling right now at Piahi. It's turned back into a paddle spot, and towing is only allowed when nobody's paddling in the lineup, which is very, very limited amount of time.
Right.
And so Laird's just riding foils on giant swells and different swells and long swells.
And I saw that you're riding the foil too. So is that something that would you say you foil more than you surf now? Or?
No, my favorite thing is just regular surfing.
Yeah.
But I've been tow foiling, and I just got a wing, so I've decided I'm going to be a winger.
Oh, what's the wing? Is that
it's kind of like a kite that you hold on to.
Uh-huh.
It just has handles, and you hold it.
You're not strapped. It's not.
There's no harness. You just hold it, and it gives you enough lift. You get up on the foil and start going, and you can go fast. You can ride waves. It's just amazing. Feels
so
incredible.
Once you're up and foiling, are you still using the kite very much, or are you just?
It depends. If you're going out, you kind of hold on and use it. You get up and use the power of the wing to get up, and then when you're coming back and you're on the swells, you just like luff it and just hold it from the front, and then you just ride. It's like as if you towed yourself onto that. Ride it to the end, kick out, and then you just tow yourself back out with the power and go back, and it's amazing. It's just
that's got to be the best.
It feels like flying. It's just
and you're away from everybody
and
doing
you're
your
not
thing.
having to deal with all the madness of the crowds.
Is the learning curve pretty tough on that? Because I know foiling can be hard at first.
Well, it hasn't been that hard for me because I can foil and I windsurfed.
Oh,
and so those two things are the two most closely related. Mm-hmm. So I think if you got to learn how to foil and you've never windsurfed, then it's going to be the learning curve's going to be pretty stiff.
But you'll still take a good day of surfing over that.
Yeah, still number one is I'd rather be surfing. Nothing better than surfing good waves.
And would you say Sunset's your go-to favorite spot to surf nowadays, or?
Yeah, I love Pipeline, but it's just the crowds are such a frenzy out there. It's like everybody's paddles for each wave, like their life depends on it, and I'm just not that fired up to be in that intense of a lineup. So I normally surf Sunset. The crowd's a little more spread out,
right.
Different takeoff zones, and still a good thrill to get some good ones out there.
I saw it this winter out at Pipe, and I borrowed someone's camera, and I was taking pictures and just watching the pecking order.
Yeah.
You know, it's really amazing. If you're at the top of the pecking order, then
Yeah.
you're loving it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and then there you got these guys that are, you know, trying to from out of town, or you got the just it's layers and layers.
I say the A team, the B team, the C team. There's all the different layers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I paddled out one day and I was just trying to get the little one just to warm up, and then there's like the kids on the inside. I couldn't even get a little one. You know, it's like much less a good one from the outside. There's just it's just thick.
But it's a great lifestyle over there.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? What's Buzzy Kerbox doing on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I lived on Maui for 20 years and raised my kids and ran a surf school.
That's right.
And now I'm remarried, living in the middle of the North Shore. So Buzzy's daily life is wake up and see what the surf's doing, ride my bike, and work in the yard, and try to sell some books.
That's
So
sick.
I buckled down and wrote my book, and I thought it might be an interesting story for people. And so I was going to do this tour last year, and the COVID hit, so I'm doing it this year, and I called it Taking It to the People. And I'm just taking my book and doing talk story events and book signings and running into old friends and making new friends, and it's been like one of the funner trips ever.
I bet it's so fun that you're getting out and seeing everybody, and I bought my book today. I'm really excited. And where can people pick this book up?
They can pick it up. The only place right now is from my website, buzzykerbox.com.
Okay, that's easy.
I haven't sold it to stores and stuff. I just did a limited edition, self-published it. I had 1,500 copies, and I'm down to about my last less than 100 right now. So.
Oh yeah, and this is amazing because going through here, I noticed that there's a lot of articles and clippings and different brochures and things that your dad saved.
My dad saved all my press clippings and everything.
And I mean, come on, look, look at that. No wonder Ralph Lauren wanted you. Look at that look. Was it hard? Did they have to teach you how to have that look, or was it pretty easy for you just to kind of?
It came easy for me. I always was comfortable in front of the camera, and I interviewed Bruce Weber for the book, and he said, "Buzzy, you're lucky. The camera just likes you, and some people the camera likes, and some it doesn't. For some reason, I don't know what." The camera seems to like me, and so it's just.
Well, you're a likable guy. How about this one right here? With what's going on with this helicopter?
Well,
someone flying out of the helicopter.
Laird and I were riding that wave together, and all of a sudden he boosted in the air, and I just turned right there, and I'm going, "Where did Laird go? He was right there." So that's the first day that we towed in, got the wave runner, and I towed in Laird and made a big track down the face of the wave. Everything you're not supposed to do for your guy. Here, Laird, go over that track. Take that one. We were all learning.
And so, what are you supposed to do? Kind of ride off to the.
You got to cut out before you drop down the face. But
right.
we were trial and error. We were learning what's right, what's wrong, and how to do it. And it was like something. To me, it was like summoning Everest, and we had to figure it out. And now the routes have been set and it's been done, and everybody knows what weather and when to go and how to do it. But we're the first guys up there, so we had definitely some learning curves.
This is pretty interesting too. This is the
Molokai channel racing. Yeah.
How long does that race take? How long?
It's 32 miles. It takes about 5.5 hours.
Wow! And is it kind of a downwind type of thing?
It starts out usually a nice downwind, and then you get about halfway across, and the current starts trying to take you back where you came from. So the last half is hard, and then the closer you get to Oahu, the stronger it gets. The tighter you get, the tougher it is. And you round the corner at Port Lock, the last mile into a 15-knot headwind.
Oh.
I mean, your body's like a sail, so you're paddling as hard as you can and just barely getting there. But it's.
Well, you're an inspiration too. I like that you talk about staying active, being outside, being healthy, seeing friends. Get this book, Buzzy. Thank you so much.
Hey, my
pleasure.
What a pleasure. Yeah,
I can't wait to read this cover to cover.
Okay.
You.